I never thought I'd be posting here, but I need to get this off my chest before I lose my mind. This is going to be long. I work in marketing at a mid-sized tech company. About 8 months ago, I started dating Andrea F26, who works in our sales department. We met at a company happy hour. She was funny, gorgeous, and I honestly thought I'd hit the jackpot. I'd never had much luck with dating before. I'm pretty introverted, focused on my work, and admittedly not the most confident guy when it comes to women. Andrea texted me first after we exchanged numbers, suggested our first few dates, and made me feel like I was actually worth someone's time for once. I was completely smitten. We'd been together for about 6 months, and I was already thinking about introducing her to my parents over Christmas. Here's where it gets messed up. Last Friday, I was working late finishing up a campaign proposal. Around 9 p.m., I went to grab some coffee from the break room on the sales floor. They have better machines than marketing. As I'm walking back, I hear voices from one of the conference rooms. The door was cracked open, and I recognized Andrea's laugh. I was about to knock and say hi when I heard my name. Honestly didn't think Aaron would last this long. Kids more desperate than I thought. That was Lydia, Andrea's work friend. I froze. Andrea's voice. I know, right? When we started this whole thing, I figured 2 months tops, but he's like a lost puppy, chasing after me, desperate to impress. How much are you up to now? That was Raymond, another sales guy. If I can keep him hooked until New Year's, I'll clear about 1,500. Dean owes me big time. He was so sure I couldn't make it past Halloween. They were all laughing. My hands started shaking so badly I almost dropped my coffee. Dean's voice. Fair play, Andrea. I genuinely thought you were being too ambitious. The guy's pathetic, but I didn't think you could stomach pretending that long. The secret is finding the right balance. Give him just enough attention to keep him invested, but not so much that he gets comfortable. I've got him convinced he needs to constantly prove himself worthy of me. More laughter. Lydia chimed in. God, remember that dinner where he spent like $300 trying to impress us? I almost felt bad. Almost, Andrea said. But then I remembered how much Dean bet against me. This is easy money. I managed to back away without making noise, but I felt like I was going to throw up. I sat in my car for an hour trying to process what I'd heard. Everything made sense now. Why Andrea always seemed just slightly out of reach. Why she'd introduce me to her friends, but they'd always exchange these little looks I couldn't interpret. Why she'd go cold whenever I seemed too confident about our relationship, then shower me with attention when I pulled back. I'd been a science experiment. But here's the thing, I didn't confront her. I didn't storm into that conference room or send angry texts. I went home, poured myself a very large whiskey, and started thinking. If Andrea wanted to play games, I could play games too, but I was going to play to win. Over the next few weeks, I started paying very close attention to Andrea's friend group. I volunteered to help plan company events, offered to grab drinks for everyone, basically made myself useful and invisible. At first, I only caught fragments, little inconsistencies in their stories. Lydia mentioning a work dinner with Derek that didn't appear on any client calendars. Raymond joking about having creative accounting skills when picking up expensive bar tabs. Dean getting texts during meetings that made him smirk and step away to respond privately. Nothing concrete, just patterns. So I started investigating. Lydia first. I noticed she was getting the best accounts despite being relatively new. I pulled her client assignment history and compared it to her performance metrics. The correlation didn't make sense until I started tracking Derek's calendar. Every time Lydia got a new high-value client, she'd had a strategy meeting with Derek the day before, always after hours. I started following them. Hotel bars, upscale restaurants, eventually the Marriott downtown. I got photos. Raymond was easier once I knew what to look for. His expense reports were public record for anyone planning company events. I spent 2 weeks cross-referencing his submitted receipts with actual restaurant reservations, checking dates against our CRM to see if the client meetings he claimed were real. They weren't. Half of Raymond's business dinners never happened. Dean took the longest because he was actually smart about it, but his phone habits gave him away. During client meetings, Dean would get messages that clearly weren't work-related based on his reactions. I volunteered to help update our client contact database, and noticing Dean's personal number in Linda Morrison from Morrison Industries file, definitely not standard protocol. The affair confirmation came when I spotted them together at a restaurant across town during what should have been Dean's lunch break with a different client. I got photos, then did more digging. Hotel loyalty program data isn't hard to access when you know someone's email patterns and security question answers. And Andrea, I started documenting every promise she made to clients versus what she actually delivered. I volunteered to help with client satisfaction surveys and accidentally discovered a pattern of complaints that had been buried or redirected. She was overpromising to close deals, then blaming fulfillment failures on other departments or colleagues. Each investigation took weeks. These people weren't stupid, they were careful. But careful isn't the same as invisible, and I had time, motivation, and professional research skills they didn't know I was using against them. They thought they were untouchable because they covered for each other and kept their mouths shut about the details. They were wrong. The best part, Andrea kept playing her game, thinking she was so clever. She'd cancel dates last minute, then love-bomb me with affection when I seemed to be pulling away. And I kept playing the perfect, grateful boyfriend. Texted her good morning, asked about her day, brought her coffee every morning like always. All while collecting evidence that would destroy her world. I'm posting this now because Phase 1 starts tomorrow. I've already sent the first email. Lydia is about to have a very bad week. Update 1. The response to my original post was insane. I never expected this to blow up like it did. A lot of you wanted updates, so here we go. Monday morning, I sent an anonymous email to HR with a very detailed breakdown of Lydia's relationship with Derek, complete with timestamps, locations, and photographic evidence of them entering and leaving hotels together during work hours. I also sent copies to Derek's wife, found her Instagram through his posts, and Lydia's boyfriend. They've been together 3 years. Poor guy posts about her constantly. By Tuesday afternoon, Lydia was called into HR. By Wednesday, she was escorted out of the building. Here's what I learned by staying invisible and keeping my ears open. The HR investigation moved fast because this wasn't the first complaint about Derek abusing his position. Apparently, there have been whispers for months, but no one could prove anything. Derek tried to throw Lydia under the bus, claiming she seduced him and that he was a victim of workplace harassment. Classy, but my photos clearly showed him initiating contact in several instances. Plus, I documented him giving her preferential treatment on accounts that other reps should have gotten. Derek's wife immediately filed for divorce. Lydia's boyfriend posted a brutal Instagram story before blocking her on everything. Her social media went from hundreds of thirst trap comments to a ghost town overnight. Meanwhile, I've been playing my role flawlessly, still playing the devoted boyfriend who's just so grateful to have her. Andrea has no idea that I'm the one behind it. The best part is watching her try to figure out what happened to Lydia. She keeps fishing for information, asking if I've heard any rumors, wondering if there might be someone in the company targeting people. Raymond is up next. I've been building his case for 2 weeks now, and it's going to be spectacular. The company takes financial fraud very seriously, especially after the embezzlement scandal 2 years ago. They have zero-tolerance policies now. I've documented over $8,000 in fraudulent expense claims over the past 6 months. Fake receipts for client dinners that never happened, inflated travel costs, charging personal entertainment to the company card. Raymond got cocky because the amounts were small enough to fly under the radar individually. I even managed to get photos of him at restaurants and bars on dates with random women while submitting receipts claiming they were client meetings. The anonymous email goes out Thursday morning. I'm timing it for maximum impact, right before our quarterly budget review when the finance team will be scrutinizing every expense. Some of you asked about my endgame with Andrea. Here's the thing. I could just dump her and move on, but that doesn't solve the real problem. Andrea and her friends aren't going to learn anything from a simple breakup. They'll just find new targets, run new games, destroy more people. Andrea's done this before. I found evidence of at least 2 other betting games she's run on coworkers. This isn't about revenge anymore. It's about consequences. Andrea made me feel like I was worthless, like I should be grateful for scraps of her attention. She turned my emotions into entertainment for her friends. She bet money on how long she could manipulate me before discarding me like trash. So now I'm going to show her what real manipulation looks like. Phase 2 starts Thursday. Raymond has no idea what's coming. Edit, a lot of people are asking about the timeline and whether I'm worried about getting caught. The beauty of this approach is patience. I'm spacing everything out so it looks like unrelated incidents. Lydia's downfall was 6 weeks after I discovered the bet. Raymond's will be another week later. Dean's will be 2 weeks after that. And Andrea's will be the finale about a month later. By the time it's over, it'll look like a series of unfortunate coincidences that exposed widespread corruption. As for getting caught, I'm using public computers, encrypted emails, and information that could have come from dozens of sources. Plus, why would anyone suspect the quiet marketing guy who brings his girlfriend coffee every morning? Update 2, posted 1 week later. Raymond lasted exactly 18 hours after I sent the financial fraud documentation to our CFO and the internal audit team. Thursday, 8 a.m. Anonymous email sent with comprehensive evidence package Friday, 2 p.m. Raymond called into emergency meeting with finance, HR, and legal Friday, 3:30 p.m. Raymond escorted out by security, personal items in a cardboard box. I was in a client meeting when it happened, completely alibied, playing the concerned colleague when I got back and everyone was talking about it. The evidence was overwhelming. The audit team didn't just confirm my findings, they found additional fraud I hadn't even discovered. Turns out Raymond had been running this scheme for over a year, and the total was closer to $15,000. What I documented was just the recent stuff. But here's where it gets interesting. The company isn't just firing him. They're pursuing criminal charges. Raymond tried to claim it was all mistakes, honest errors in expense reporting. But when they pulled his company credit card records and compared them to his submitted receipts, the pattern was undeniable. He'd been submitting fake receipts for real charges while pocketing reimbursements for imaginary business expenses. The criminal investigation is ongoing, but his lawyer is already talking plea deal. Meanwhile, Andrea is starting to panic. 2 of her closest friends destroyed in 2 weeks. She's asking a lot more questions now, wondering if there's someone targeting their friend group specifically. She even asked if I thought someone might have it out for her. "I just don't understand how this keeps happening," she said over dinner Tuesday. Lydia and Raymond were always so careful, and now they're both gone. I reached across the table and took her hand. "Hey, look at me. Some people just make bad choices and eventually get caught. It's not about you." She squeezed my hand. "You're right. I'm probably just being paranoid. It's just, losing friends like this is really hard." I almost laughed. Friends. Like she actually cared about Lydia and Raymond as people rather than co-conspirators in her manipulation games. What Andrea doesn't know is that I've been using this time to gather even more intelligence. Now that she's feeling vulnerable, she's been more open about her frustrations at work, her relationships with clients, her strategies for managing accounts. She's also been more demanding of my attention, probably trying to reassure herself that at least one thing in her life is stable. The bet is supposed to end at New Year's, but I think she's getting attached to having a reliable emotional support system. Too bad for her that I'm not actually supporting her. I'm studying her. Dean is next, and his fall is going to be the most spectacular yet. His affair with Linda Morrison isn't just cheating, it's a massive breach of our confidentiality agreements. He's been sharing proprietary information about our other clients, giving Morrison Industries competitive advantages in bidding processes. But the real kicker, Dean's wife Laura is 7 months pregnant with their first child. She's been posting ultrasound photos and baby shower preparations all over social media. She has no idea her husband has been cheating with a client for the past 4 months. I've got hotel receipts, photos of them together, and recorded conversations where Dean admits to sharing confidential client information. The evidence package I'm preparing for Dean isn't just going to HR and legal, it's going to Morrison Industries board, anonymously, of course. Our other clients who were affected by the information sharing, and Laura's family. Dean thinks he's untouchable because Linda Morrison represents one of our biggest accounts. He's about to learn that no account is worth covering up corporate espionage and betrayal of client trust. The timeline is perfect too. Dean's baby shower is this weekend. Laura's family will all be there, celebrating the new addition to their perfect little family. Some of you have been asking if I feel bad about destroying these people's lives. The answer is no, I don't. These aren't innocent people who made small mistakes. Lydia was systematically corrupting the promotion process and fucking over other employees. Raymond was literally stealing money. Dean is betraying client trust and cheating on his pregnant wife. And Andrea, she's been running psychological manipulation games on vulnerable people for entertainment and profit. They built their success on hurting others. I'm just making sure the bill comes due. The difference is that when I'm done, I'm disappearing. New job, new city, clean slate. But the consequences of their actions will follow them forever. 3 down, 1 to go. Edit. Getting a lot of questions about my timeline and legal concerns. Everything I'm doing is legal. I'm not hacking, stealing, or fabricating evidence. I'm just compiling information that's already accessible and making sure the right people see it. One-party consent recording laws cover the conversations I've documented. Final update. Posted 3 weeks later. Dean lasted 32 hours. Andrea lasted exactly 0 seconds after I showed her the evidence. Let me explain. Dean's implosion was even more spectacular than I'd hoped. Monday morning, I sent my evidence packages to 5 different targets: HR Legal, Morrison Industries Board of Directors, our 3 biggest clients who've been affected by Dean's information sharing, and Dean's wife Laura. By Tuesday afternoon, Dean had lost his job, his wife, his house, and his reputation. Morrison Industries immediately terminated their contract with our company and launched an internal investigation into how their competitive information was compromised. Their board was furious that one of their suppliers' employees had been manipulating contracts through personal relationships. Our other clients weren't happy either. 2 of them have already indicated they're reviewing their contracts with us. The information Dean shared cost them millions in lost bids. Laura kicked Dean out. Her family rallied around her immediately. Dean went from expecting father preparing for a baby shower to divorce pariah in 48 hours. But the best part was watching Andrea's reaction to Dean's downfall. She was genuinely terrified now. 3 friends destroyed in 5 weeks. She kept asking if I thought someone was targeting her specifically, if I'd noticed anyone acting strange around her, if I thought she should be worried. What if someone knows something about me? She asked Wednesday night, barely touching her dinner. I looked her straight in the eyes. Like what? You don't have anything to hide, do you? She laughed, but it was shaky. Of course not, this is all so weird. It's like someone's systematically destroying everyone I care about. That's when I knew it was time. Thursday evening, I invited Andrea over for dinner, made her favorite meal, opened a nice bottle of wine, set up the perfect romantic atmosphere. She was relaxed for the first time in weeks, probably thinking she could count on me to be her safe space while her world fell apart. After dinner, I poured 2 glasses of wine and sat down across from her. Andrea, we need to talk. She immediately tensed. That sounds serious. It is. I pulled out my phone and opened the recording app. I want to play something for you. I hit play on the conversation I'd recorded that first night. Her voice filled my apartment. Honestly didn't think Aaron would last this long. Kids more desperate than I thought. The color drained from her face instantly. I let the whole conversation play. Every laugh, every cruel comment, every detail about the bet. She sat completely frozen, listening to herself destroy me for the entertainment of her friends. When it ended, the silence stretched for almost a full minute. Aaron, I can explain, no need. I took a sip of wine. See, I've known about your little game for almost 2 months now. What's interesting is what I've learned since then. I pulled out a folder and started laying out photographs. Andrea at expensive restaurants charging business meals for personal dates. Screenshots of her promising client favors she never delivered. Documentation of her previous betting games with other coworkers. You want to know who's been destroying your friends? It's me, Andrea. I sent every piece of evidence that brought them down. She was staring at the photos, hands shaking. That's impossible. You couldn't have known about Lydia and Derek, about Raymond's expense fraud, about Dean's affair with Linda Morrison. I smiled. You'd be amazed what people say around someone they consider invisible. Andrea's composure finally cracked. Why would you do this? Because you thought I was weak. You thought I was pathetic. You turned my feelings into a betting game for your entertainment. I leaned forward. You were wrong about me, Andrea. I'm not weak. I'm patient. She started crying then. Real tears, not the manipulative ones I'd seen her use on clients and coworkers. Please, Aaron, I'm sorry. I know I messed up, but I have feelings for you now. Real feelings. We can start over. No, we can't. I gathered up the photos. See, here's the beautiful part. You can't prove any of this. You can't prove I recorded that conversation or that I sent those emails. You can't prove I destroyed your friends' lives. But you're telling me, I'm telling you because I want you to know. I want you to understand exactly who did this to you and why. But knowing and proving it are two very different things. She was fully panicking now. What do you want? Money. I can pay you back whatever I won in the bet. I don't want your money, Andrea. I want you to live with this. I stood up and walked to my laptop. You're going to resign from the company tomorrow. You're going to tell everyone you got a better opportunity somewhere else. You're going to leave town. You can't make me. Actually, I can. I turned the laptop screen toward her. It was an email draft addressed to our entire department, HR, and senior management. The subject line read, "Evidence of workplace harassment and manipulation games." The email detailed everything. The betting ring, the manipulation tactics, the previous victims, complete with audio recordings, screenshots, and witness statements I'd collected from people she'd targeted before. All I have to do is hit send, I said. Your career in this industry would be over. Your reputation would be destroyed. Everyone would know exactly what kind of person you really are. She was sobbing now. Please don't. I'll do whatever you want. I told you what I want. Resign tomorrow. Leave town. Start over somewhere far away where you can think about why this happened every single day for the rest of your life. And if I don't, I clicked send on the draft email, but left it in scheduled delivery for 24 hours. Then tomorrow at 9 a.m., everyone you've ever worked with will know the truth. Your choice. Andrea left that night broken and defeated. She resigned Friday morning, citing a family emergency that required her to relocate immediately. She's gone now. Left town over the weekend, blocked me on everything, disappeared from social media. Lydia is working retail and living with her parents while Derek's divorce drains his savings. Raymond's criminal trial starts next month. Dean is living in a studio apartment and paying child support for a baby he'll barely be allowed to see. And me? I put in my notice yesterday. Got a job offer in Seattle with a 40% salary increase. Clean slate, new city, fresh start. The funny thing is, I genuinely hope Andrea learns from this. I hope she becomes a better person, treats people with respect, stops manipulating vulnerable people for entertainment. But I also hope she never forgets what happens when you underestimate the quiet guy in the corner. Some lessons are worth learning the hard way. This is my final post on this account. I won't be responding to messages or comments going forward. To everyone who followed this story and offered support, thank you. My 31M girlfriend, 29F, posted about accepting less on our 3-year anniversary. I had receipts. I'm still processing this, so bear with me. This happened yesterday and I'm not sure if I handled it right, but I think I finally grew a backbone after 3 years. My girlfriend Leona and I have been together for 3 years as of yesterday. She's got this whole Instagram persona as a successful entrepreneur, always posting about her hustle, expensive dinners, designer bags, beach vacations, etc. Her feed makes it look like she's living this incredible independent life. She's got like 15K followers and gets hundreds of likes on everything. Here's what those followers don't know. I've been paying for about 80% of everything since we moved in together 2 years ago. Not just rent and utilities, but her car payment, insurance, the fancy restaurants she posts about, the weekend trips to Napa and Miami that show up on her stories. When she buys those designer handbags, I'm usually the one who surprised her with them, but she never mentions that part online. I never minded supporting her when she was getting her business off the ground. She kept saying she was about to land this big client or that opportunity was going to change everything. I believed in her dreams, you know. I wanted to be supportive. And when she'd post about our dates or trips, I actually liked seeing her happy and confident, even if the credit was a little selective. But yesterday was our anniversary, and she made this long Instagram post. The part that got me was in the middle. I've learned so much about myself this year. I'm realizing I deserve more than I've been accepting. Sometimes we settle because we're afraid to be alone, but I'm grateful I'm finally in a place where I know my worth. Here's to never accepting less than I deserve again. I was sitting right next to her when she posted it. We just gotten back from an expensive anniversary dinner that I paid for, and she's posting about accepting less and knowing her worth. The post immediately started getting comments like, "You're such an inspiration." And "Yes, Queen, you deserve everything." Her friends were eating it up. I stared at my phone reading the comments and something just snapped. 3 years of keeping my mouth shut, 3 years of being her silent ATM while she built this image of being this strong, independent woman. I was tired of being erased from the narrative of my own relationship, so I did something I've never done before. I went to my banking app and started taking screenshots. Every Venmo payment to her, every credit card charge for her car payment, the lease agreement where I'm the only one whose income qualified us for our apartment, the receipts from Tiffany & Co., Louis Vuitton, the spa packages, everything. Then I commented on her post, just one word, same, and I attached every single receipt. I probably should have talked to her privately first, but honestly, I was done protecting someone who clearly didn't mind throwing me under the bus for social media clout. The post went from celebrating her growth to a complete disaster in about 20 minutes. Her comments section turned into people asking questions like, "Wait, if you're so successful, why is your boyfriend paying for everything? And this is awkward." Her cousin even commented, "Leona, is there something you haven't told us about your situation?" She deleted the post within an hour, but people had already screenshot it. My phone started blowing up. Some of our mutual friends were messaging me asking what was going on. Others were taking sides. Then Leona called. I could hear the rage in her voice before she even spoke. "What the hell did you just do?" she practically screamed into the phone. I was watching the notification count climb on my screenshots. "I commented on your post. You humiliated me. You aired our private business for everyone to see." Our private business? Leona, you were the one who made our business public. You posted about accepting less than you deserve on our anniversary. There was silence for a moment. I could hear her breathing heavily. "You're being vindictive," she said finally, her voice switching to that wounded tone she used when she wanted sympathy. "You know how important my image is to my career." I laughed, and it surprised both of us. "Your career? Making $200 a month giving people lifestyle advice. You don't understand." "No, I understand perfectly. I understand that you just told 15,000 people that you deserve better than me while wearing a bracelet I bought you." The line went quiet. Then she hung up. That's when I realized we were living in completely different relationships. She saw me as some kind of assistant to her personal brand, not her partner. I ended up staying at my buddy's place last night. Couldn't stand to be near her right now. I need some perspective here. Was I wrong to call her out publicly? I get that I probably handled it immaturely, but I'm tired of being treated like I'm not good enough while simultaneously funding the lifestyle she uses to show everyone how good she is. Edit. Thanks for all the responses. Some of you are asking what her business actually is. She calls herself a lifestyle consultant and has an online coaching program, but from what I can tell, she makes maybe $200 to $300 a month from it. Definitely not enough to cover the lifestyle she presents online. A few people asked if I ever talked to her about the financial imbalance before. I did, multiple times. She always said she'd pay me back when the business took off, or that she was investing in her brand. I genuinely wanted to support her dreams, but looking back, I think I was just enabling someone who didn't want to face reality. Update 1. Posted 5 days later. Holy shit, guys. The last few days have been a whirlwind. After I posted, Leona spent the next 2 days calling and texting me nonstop. At first it was angry messages about how I betrayed her trust and sabotaged her career. She kept insisting that I knew what I was getting into when we started dating and that supporting her was what partners do. But when I didn't respond and didn't come home, the messages changed. Suddenly she was sorry and wanted to work through this together. She said she realized she hadn't been acknowledging my contributions enough and that we could find a better balance. Here's where it gets interesting. Remember how her Instagram post got screenshot before she deleted it? Well, it spread further than I thought. Someone posted it in one of those influencer reality check groups, and it went semi-viral. We're talking thousands of shares, people stitching it on TikTok, the whole thing. The worst part for Leona is that people started digging into her other posts with this new context. They figured out that the timeline of her success coincided perfectly with when we moved in together. People were commenting on old posts asking things like, "How much of this did your boyfriend pay for?" Her follower count dropped from 15K to about 8K in 3 days. But the real fallout happened with her family and friends. Her mom called me yesterday. Apparently Leona had been telling everyone that she was financially independent, and even implied that I was the one struggling financially. Her mom had been bragging to her book club about having such a successful daughter. When she saw the screenshots, she was mortified. Her best friend Jennifer also reached out. Turns out, Leona had borrowed $500 from her 6 months ago for business expenses and never paid it back. Jennifer said she would have never lent the money if she'd known Leona was living off her boyfriend while pretending to be successful. She wanted to know if this was a pattern. That conversation with Jennifer was eye-opening. I started realizing that Leona's relationship with money and truth was more messed up than I thought. It wasn't just about me funding her lifestyle. She was building this entire fake persona and lying to everyone about it. Yesterday, Leona asked to meet in person. She suggested our usual spot, expensive brunch place naturally, but I picked a coffee shop instead. When she got there, it was the first time I'd seen her without her phone out. No Instagram stories of her outfit or her latte. She looked tired and smaller somehow. Less of that confidence she always carried. "Adrian, I'm sorry," she started, not making eye contact. "I realize I've been taking you for granted. I got caught up in building my brand and I lost sight of what really matters." I didn't respond immediately, just watched her carefully. "I can change," she continued, finally looking up. "I'll start paying for my own things. I'll be more transparent about our finances online. We can make this work." She reached across the table toward my hand, but I pulled back. "Leo, I appreciate you saying that, but I know I messed up," she interrupted, her voice getting desperate. "But you have to understand, my image is my career. When you destroy that, you're destroying my future." I leaned back in my chair, something cold settling in my chest. "Your future." "You know what I mean," she said quickly, but her eyes flickered away again. "No, I don't think I do." My voice was calmer than I expected. "Because a partner would be talking about what we can build together. You're still worried about your Instagram followers." "That's not," she stopped, realizing she'd been caught. "Leona, I'm done." The words came out easier than I thought they would. Not just with the money stuff. "I'm done being a supporting character in your story. Her eyes filled with tears. "Don't say that. We can fix this. We can start over, maybe try couples counseling." But even as she cried, I could see her checking my reaction, calculating which approach might work. It was like watching someone perform grief instead of feeling it. The thing is, I've spent 3 years watching her lie effortlessly to everyone, her family, her friends, her followers. The only reason she wants to change now is because she got caught. That's not the foundation for a healthy relationship. I'm staying at my friend's place for the rest of the week while I figure out the living situation. Our lease is in my name anyway, so that's not complicated. What is complicated is untangling 3 years of shared stuff and figuring out what's mine, what's hers, and what I bought that she's been treating as hers. Edit. For those asking about the business, I looked at her PayPal statements. She asked me to help her with taxes a few months ago, so I have access. In the last year, she made $1,847 total from her lifestyle consulting. That's not even enough to cover 1 month of her car payment. Someone asked if I'm going to pursue getting money back from her. Honestly, I'm treating it as an expensive lesson. I just want to move on with my life. Though I am keeping track of the big-ticket items I bought her, like the MacBook and the jewelry, in case things get messy legally. Update 2. Posted 10 days later, this situation has gotten even more ridiculous, and I need to vent to people who understand the insanity. A few days after our coffee shop conversation, I went back home. I'd asked her to leave, even gave her a few days to figure out where to go before I left my friend's place to go home. Leona had been staying at her friend Jennifer's place, but she'd left a lot of her stuff at our apartment. I figured she'd want to get it eventually, but I wasn't prepared for how she'd handle it. She texted me yesterday saying she wanted to come get her stuff from the apartment. I said fine, gave her a time when I'd be there. I figured this would be clothes, toiletries, maybe some books, normal breakup stuff. She showed up with her 2 friends for moral support, apparently, and started loading up boxes with everything. And I mean literally everything. The coffee machine I bought last Christmas. The expensive sheets I got for the bedroom. The smart TV I bought for the living room. The artwork we bought together with my money on our trip to Santa Fe. When I asked what she was doing, she said these were gifts I had given her and now she was taking her property. But here's the kicker. She left behind every single thing she had actually bought for our place. The $20 succulent from Target. The throw pillows she got on clearance. The discount candles. She was literally only taking the expensive stuff. "Look, Adrian," Leona straightened up, using that patient tone she reserved for when she thought I was being unreasonable. "These were gifts. You can't just take back gifts because you're upset." I gestured around the room. "So the $200 Target pillows you bought are staying, but the $2,000 TV I bought is yours. That's different. How is that different?" My voice was getting sharper. "Actually, you know what? Fine. If we're talking about gifts, then the $3,000 Cartier bracelet I bought you for your birthday stays with you, but you don't get to take the TV I bought for our living room." "You're being petty," she snapped. "You're trying to punish me financially." The cognitive dissonance was unreal. This is the same person who, 2 weeks ago, posted about accepting less than she deserved. One of her 2 friends, Maya, stepped forward and whispered something in Leona's ear. I couldn't hear it, but Leona's face went red. "Are you serious right now?" Leona hissed at Maya, who just shrugged apologetically. Later, Maya texted me privately to apologize for the situation and said she'd told Leona this wasn't a good look. But at that moment, I couldn't think as much. My patience finally gone. "Okay, here's what's going to happen," I said. "You can take your actual personal belongings, clothes, makeup, books, whatever. But anything over $200 that I paid for stays. And if you want to claim something was a gift, show me where you thank me for it on your Instagram." Leona's mouth opened and closed like a fish. We all knew she'd never once acknowledged my purchases online. "This is ridiculous," she muttered, but she started pulling her clothes out of the boxes instead. The other friend, Jessica, looked like she wanted to disappear. Maya was already stacking the expensive items back where they belonged. 20 minutes later, Leona had 2 boxes of actual personal items, a far cry from the haul she'd planned. She stood at the door, glaring at me. "I'm getting a lawyer," she announced. "You can't just steal my things." "Your things," I repeated calmly. "The things you never paid for and never thanked me for." She stormed out without another word, her friends trailing behind with apologetic looks. Here's where it gets even better. After she left, I checked Instagram. She'd posted a story about toxic people who try to control you even after you leave them and narcissistic behavior from people who can't handle your growth. The lack of self-awareness is absolutely stunning, but the comments on that story were not what she expected. People were asking pointed questions like, "Aren't these the same things you said he paid for?" And "How is it controlling to not let you take his TV?" Her remaining followers are clearly not buying her victim narrative anymore. I also heard from her mom again. Apparently, Leona called her crying about how I was stealing her stuff and being vindictive. Her mom asked for specifics, and when Leona couldn't explain why the TV I bought for our shared living room was somehow hers personally, her mom told her she was acting entitled and needed to face reality. Even her own mother is done with her BS. The most telling part of all this: in 3 years together, Leona never once bought me a birthday gift that cost more than $50, never planned a surprise date that she paid for, never offered to cover groceries or utilities when I was having a tough month. But she somehow convinced herself that she deserved to walk away with thousands of dollars of stuff I bought. I'm actually feeling a lot better about this whole situation. It's like watching someone remove their own mask and show you exactly who they are. I spent 3 years making excuses for her behavior and telling myself she'd grow out of it. Now I can see that this is who she is, someone who takes and then gets angry when the well runs dry. Tomorrow I'm signing the lease to transfer our apartment to month under just my name. She can figure out her own living situation. I'm done being her safety net while she searches for the next person to fund her fantasy life. Edit. Someone asked what her friends' reactions were during the confrontation. Maya looked mortified the entire time and kept trying to get Leona to just take your clothes and go. The other friend, Jessica, was more supportive of Leona initially, but got quiet when Leona tried to take the TV. I think watching someone you care about act that entitled in real time is pretty uncomfortable. Final update. Posted 6 weeks later. I wasn't planning to update again, but the ending of this saga is too good not to share, and a lot of you have been asking how things turned out. First, the good news about me. I'm doing really well. Better than I have in years, honestly. After Leona moved out, I realized how much mental energy I'd been spending on managing her emotions and her image. It's amazing how peaceful life gets when you're not constantly worried about someone else's Instagram stories. I got a promotion at work. Funny how much more focused you can be when you're not funding someone else's lifestyle. And I've been dating again. Nothing serious yet, but it's nice to meet people who are genuinely interested in building something together instead of just finding a sponsor. But the really wild part is what happened with Leona. About a month ago, she started posting Instagram stories with a new guy, Dylan. Same playbook as before. Expensive dinners, weekend trips, designer shopping hauls, the whole 9 yards. Her follower count had climbed back up to about 12K, and she was back to posting about leveling up and knowing your worth. Here's where it gets interesting. Remember Maya, the friend who was uncomfortable during the whole apartment confrontation? She'd stayed in touch with me occasionally, just checking in because she felt bad about how everything went down. Last week, Maya texted me screenshots of a group chat she was in with some of Leona's other friends. Turns out they'd all been comparing notes about her stories with Dylan, and things weren't adding up. The timeline was too fast, the lifestyle too expensive for someone who'd been building her business from scratch just months earlier. One of them, Jessica, the other friend who was at my apartment, had done some digging. She found Dylan on LinkedIn. Turns out he's a finance guy who makes decent money, but probably not blow $500 on dinner every weekend money, especially not this early in a relationship. The group started paying closer attention to Leona's posts. They noticed she was doing the same thing she'd done with me, posting about their experiences while never actually tagging Dylan or acknowledging that he was paying. Always treated myself to dinner instead of Dylan took me to dinner. Always so grateful for this amazing life instead of so grateful for this generous boyfriend. So last weekend, the group chat decided to stage an intervention. They invited Leona to brunch at a reasonably priced place for once and confronted her about the pattern they were seeing. They told her they were worried she was falling into the same dynamic that had blown up her relationship with me. According to Maya, Leona's response was to get defensive and angry. She insisted that her situation with Dylan was completely different because he actually appreciates her, and that Dylan was choosing to spoil her because he could see her value. But then Jessica asked the brutal question, "Okay, but what are you contributing? What are you bringing to this relationship besides showing up and looking pretty?" Leona apparently couldn't answer that. She got upset and left, but not before Maya heard her on the phone with Dylan asking him to pick her up because she didn't want to take an Uber. The really telling part came a few days later. Maya said Leona called her crying, saying that Dylan had started asking questions about her business and wanted to see her tax returns before they moved in together. Apparently, he'd Googled her after their friends brought up concerns, and he'd found some of the screenshots from our drama that are still floating around online. He'd asked her point blank if she was looking for a relationship or looking for a sponsor. Leona apparently tried the same tactics on him that she'd used on me, tears, promises to do better, saying he was being controlling by asking about finances. But Dylan didn't buy it. He told her they could keep dating, but he wasn't going to be her ATM, and if she couldn't afford to split expenses, they needed to do cheaper things. Her Instagram stories have gotten a lot more modest lately. Coffee shops instead of fancy restaurants. Target hauls instead of designer shopping. And the comments have changed too instead of goals. And you deserve everything. She's getting a lot more. This is more relatable. And love seeing the real you. I think the reality of her situation is finally hitting her. She can't maintain the Instagram lifestyle without someone funding it, but people are now suspicious when she suddenly starts living above her means. She's basically trapped herself in a cycle where she needs to find increasingly generous men, but her reputation makes that harder and harder. Maya told me that Leona has been asking about me lately, whether I'm dating anyone, if I seem happy, if I ever mention missing her. I told Maya to tell her that I'm doing great and that I hope she figures out what she actually wants out of life, because performing success on social media isn't a sustainable career plan. Thanks to everyone on Reddit who gave me advice throughout this process. This community literally saved my financial future and probably my sanity. Edit. A few people asked if I ever found out how much money Dylan had spent on her before he wised up. Maya thinks it was probably around $2K to $3K total, mostly dinners and one weekend trip. Apparently he started asking questions after just 6 weeks, which is way faster than it took me to catch on. Good for him. For anyone wondering, I did keep the receipts and records from our relationship, just in case she tried any legal nonsense. But she never did. I think she realized that a court battle would require her to explain her finances publicly, which is the last thing she wanted. Time to move forward now. Peace out, Reddit.